Part 42. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 413. After finishing all the formalities, Lu Feng took a look at the contract, stood up and stretched out his hand towards He Jiali with a smile, and the two sides shook hands tightly. Happy cooperation. Will we be able to arrest Ke Bing and others tonight? Lu Feng asked. I feel very unsafe. Why don't I leave overnight? No, you can't go, He Jiali hurriedly said. If you leave, how can I explain to the people of the city, where is the money spent? You have to attend the signing ceremony and announce it to the public, understand? Lu Feng thought for a while, then nodded and agreed. Now some media outside have speculated that GFN Electronics has gone through the back door or something. Then why don't you send someone to protect me? Lu Feng asked. These people also have to be arrested? Since they are coming for you, I would like to ask President Lu to cooperate with them. At the very least, arrest these people first, lest they fly abroad and the meat will be rotten in the pot. He Jiali smiled. Lu Feng didn't expect that he would have to take another risk, and said, okay. Everyone sat down and talked about some details of the evening. When they came out of the conference room, it was already evening. He Jiali hurried back, and Lu Feng went directly to the restaurant for dinner. Ke Bing had already reported the situation, and the man above him finally had a heart in his stomach. In the evening, 7 or 8 people had gathered at the VIP hotel. It's still up to Mr. K. What kind of thing is Ma Quantao, and he actually wants to get ahead. That's right, you don't have to weigh yourself up, you know that you are reckless, isn't this something wrong? You still have to use your brain. I said that he won't be able to jump around for a long time. Sure enough, something happened. It has to be a character like President K, who is strategizing and winning thousands of miles away. The scene was full of flattery. Ke Bing was so uncomfortable sitting there, the smile on his face could hardly hold back. He coughed. I'll say a few words. It was fine before, this Lu Feng came here, it keeps happening, the key is still Lu Feng, he wants to take the number 1 factory, and the number 1 factory is mine, it's an internal decision. Your spare parts factory is worthy of the number 1 factory. Yes, all Dongguan knows about this. Ke Bing nodded and said, so, He Jiali supports Lu Feng, the one who supports me, now he doesn't have an account book in his hand, and he's afraid that he will get a ball. Let him see why the society is so dark tonight. Don't worry, my people have arrived. It's definitely a good place to stay tonight, just sit in the car and watch, and leave the rest to us. Exactly. Ke Bing was very satisfied with this group of people, and said, send a few people to his hotel to keep an eye on him. If he doesn't go out, he will go into the hotel and drag him out. If he goes out, find a secluded place to clean him up. Don't worry, it's arranged properly. After Lu Feng finished eating, Ye Wuxian had already received a call, and someone was watching downstairs. He hurriedly went to the restaurant and said to Lu Feng, Mr. Lu, there are several unidentified vehicles parked downstairs. Got it, take a shower after dinner, how's the preparation over there? There will be a car coming, 3 plainclothes will sit in the car, and there will be people behind, and all of them will be arrested at that time. Just be safe. After Lu Feng finished talking, he was thinking about the progress of this year. It would be no problem for the company to make a profit of 20 million before the end of the year. The problem is that the 20 million is not enough to spend. After the reorganization of GFN Electronics, it is like a big stomach. It needs enough funds to fill and support its development, especially for our /U0026D companies. The budget for next year must be sufficient. According to Lu Feng's idea, 50 million is the bottom line and 100 million is not impossible. Spend money to poach people, establish talent training channels, and cooperate on a global scale. Lack of money. He picked up the drink on the table and drank it, stood up and walked outside. There were several cars parked at the gate, and they didn't turn off the engine. I didn't know what to do. There was a black Crown car parked in the middle of the gate. Lu Feng went downstairs and deliberately stood at the gate and looked left and right. Then opened the door and get in the car. The car sped away in the direction of the suburbs, and those cars followed. A man in the car called with a big brother in his hand, "Hey, Mr. Chiao, Lu Feng has already set off, heading towards the western suburbs, okay." Inside the VIP hotel, an ugly man in his 30s said with a smile of congratulations on his face, "Mr. K, my person has answered." Lu Feng went out and headed towards the western suburbs. Western suburbs? There is not even a village within 30 miles of that area. Although K Bing was puzzled, he didn't think much about it. In his heart, Lu Feng was already a boiled duck. He didn't have the real account book. If he couldn't cheat out K Bing's account book, he would be useless to He Jiali of. A useless person, He Jiali will stand for him. K Bing thought very clearly about the twists and turns inside. It can be said that there are no omissions. Set off. More than a dozen cars headed for the western suburbs in a mighty manner, which was quite noticeable on the road. As the car drove further and further away, Lu Feng felt insecure looking at the surrounding woods. He glanced behind him and saw that there were more and more cars following him. He asked, "How many cars are there? Our car seems to have been lost. I also feel like I'm lost, I haven't seen it for a while." Lu Feng glanced at a few people, everyone was silent in unison, and one of them in plain clothes said, "Hurry up, don't let them come up, if you can't do it, just go back in a circle." As soon as the voice fell, a car overtook it and stepped on the brakes directly in front of the car. He braked suddenly, and the left and right sides also stopped. Lu Feng was speechless when he saw the situation, and asked, "Are you all so unreliable? It's normal to lose track." Lu Feng sighed, now that he has no navigation, it is normal to go around the suburbs a few times and get lost. A thin man tapped the car window with his hand and said, "Mr. Lu, get out of the car, where are you going?" "Let me tell you, before your boss comes, I suggest you don't move around," Lu Feng shouted while sitting in the car. "What should I do? I'm not on a mission, I don't have a gun." "Wait a little longer, maybe you will catch up after a while, and delay for a while." After a while, the car of K Bing and the others stopped at the back, the door opened, and K Bing got out of the car, holding a cigar in his hand, quite like a godfather. He walked to Lu Feng's car and patted the window with his hand. "Mr. Lu, long time no see." It won't be long. Lu Feng knew that he couldn't hide, so he got out of the car and ran into the woods if he couldn't, with 3 plainclothes standing beside him. "What are you doing? You're not cocky? Why don't you want to save me? You almost scared me to death by asking me to prepare the ledger, you know." He gestured in front of Lu Feng with a cigar. "How about Mr. K's preparations? I'm going to Nima. You're a businessman, you don't study selling goods, but you're interested in the art of war? Fraud, don't you?" K Bing touched his head with his hand. "Play with my brain, you don't know me." "High IQ. High IQ?" Lu Feng almost laughed. At this time, he held back, otherwise K Bing would be really angry, so he would do it now. "I didn't expect you to find out, Mr. K, I underestimated you," Lu Feng pretended to say, trying to delay the time. "Don't think I can't see it, from the moment you get on the train, you make the layout. First, one move is to retreat, and 2 thieves are found. On the train, they successfully attracted the attention of the local thieves. Say those 2 thieves have nothing to do with you. The whole city is looking for those 2 thieves. We thought you didn't have the ledger, and the 2 thieves had the ledger, because you know, if you say that the ledger is in your hands, you are in great danger. And where are you in Jiali? Swing between leaders and watch the wind." Lu Feng clapped his hands and said, "It's too smart, You're so smart, you're not as good as you. Keep analyzing. Mr. K has already seen through everything. Mr. K is so smart. Mr. K is in control of everything. All around are flatterers. K. Bing smiled slightly, his face full of smugness, and continued, at this time, you should contact Hejiali. You want a good price, which includes number 1 factory, a loan of 300 million yuan, and a loan of 100 million yuan. Forex indicators. That's right, Lu Feng affirmed. What you didn't expect is that you got rid of it. Those 2 thieves are not under your control, and you can't find the ledger. They should have been hiding. At this time, Ma Quantao, a reckless man, entered the field and disrupted it. Your plan, I am afraid that the ledger will fall into his hands, so I am here to cut it. What I didn't expect was that Hejiali cut off my cut. You were already panicking, and you felt that things were beyond your control, so you completely turned to Hejiali, confessed to him that you didn't have an account book, and the 2 thieves have been pushed out of the way, and you can count on one trick. You can count on this trick. There are 2 options. One is to cheat. If I win, I will take out my account book. If I don't win, you can escape from the shell and escape directly. Lu Feng understood. It turned out that he was going to the western suburbs now, which in his eyes was called Jin Chan's escape. Mr. K, your idioms are so good, what tricks did you use? Lu Feng asked rhetorically. I used the beauty trick first, I failed, then I used the trick to win people over, and then I failed. In the end, I could only use an undercover trick to gain insight into everything. Lu Feng, you can't play against me, K. Bing said proudly. Lu Feng listened to the selfie shooter, and sure enough, the world is different in everyone's eyes, and your small actions can explain different things in the eyes of others. Let's hit the road, learn to be smarter in your next life, and come back to fight your wits with me, K. Bing said and took a step back. There were a few bastards around, holding sticks and pressing them up. Just as they were about to start, a dozen cars came galloping. After they stopped, they opened the doors and the police filed out, holding firearms and shouting, "Don't move! All hands up! Don't move, squat down on the spot, or you'll shoot." K. Bing was overwhelmed by the sudden shock. Facing the dark muzzle, everyone squatted down. K. Bing was a little unwilling. Why did this happen? What is this plan? Let the snake out of the hole. HTT. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 414. Several police cars were fully loaded. Lu Feng leaned on the car and smoked a cigarette, watching these people queuing up one by one to get on the car. The setting sun had already disappeared on the other side of the mountain, and the sky and the earth were dark. Lu Feng lit a cigarette and watched the cars go away. Hejiali walked over. "Give me one." Lu Feng handed him the cigarette and lit it for him. "Finally, there is a result. For so long, my resistance is very large, and the 2 sides are pulling." Hejiali sighed with emotion, as if he wanted to make friends with Lu Feng. "These things have nothing to do with me, and I don't want to hear them." "It's not good for me to hear too much about some things," Lu Feng interrupted him and said, "I'm just a businessman." "It's so cold at the heights." Hejiali smiled bitterly and smoked his cigarette. "Take a few days off, I'll be very busy these days." "When will you wait?" Lu Feng asked. "I still have a lot of things going on at my company." "Let's do it in a week," Hejiali said to the driver next to him. "Help to detain the person, and let President Lu drive the car back by himself." Lu Feng nodded and said no problem. He drove back in the car. He understood where K. Bing got the news, and he had an indescribable feeling about Bai Mai Hua. In the evening, a car stopped at the entrance of Xiaoanglu, and 4 or 5 people walked down. They walked to the door and knocked on the door. A minute later, a man opened the door, looked at a few people and asked, "What are you doing?" Hello, we are the disciplinary committee. Is it still coming? Do you know who I am? There are so many things to register for family planning. The more the man thought about it, the more angry he became. Several people did not expect the other party to be so arrogant. The man standing at the front was slapped in the face, and the people in the back rushed over and hurriedly uniformed and put the handcuffs on him. Knowing the true origins of these people, the man was paralyzed like a puddle of mud. He said it was impossible, and asked him to make a phone call. These people didn't listen at all and carried them directly into the car. An hour later, the VIP hotel ushered in the largest anti-pornography campaign. The girls in one car were pulled away. Bai Mai sat in the car and looked at the people around her. She couldn't tell how flustered she was. "It's okay, you didn't do anything, don't be afraid," Manager Bai comforted. Sounded the siren and galloped away in the crowd watching and discussing. Earthquake. As night fell, a major earthquake was coming quietly. After Jiali returned, he held an emergency meeting as soon as possible. Countless people could not sleep this night. Lu Feng stood in the living room and looked at the police car with its police lights flashing on the road in the distance. Ye Wuxian sighed behind him. "It's not easy to do business, you can't say anything, you can't get a chance. Now there are relationships everywhere. If you slow down a little bit, it won't be your turn, but make an offering, maybe you'll go in someday." They are not wronged, at least they are happier than the people who got in because of speculation. Lu Feng watched silently and said, "Life is an adventure. Your risk is not small, those people are fierce and vicious, I am afraid of them. As long as they are rational people, they are not scary. They have a purpose and know what they want. Intimidation is just a means." Mr. Lu, how do you think about the relationship between this big company and the municipality? It's too close, it can't be done, it's too far away, it can't be done. Lu Feng thought about it for a while and said, "Be their intimate lover." Don't know. It appears when they need it, and disappears when they don't. Ye Wuxian seemed to understand, but he couldn't understand the key. He looked at Lu Feng's back. This young back was so deep and heavy. "Take a rest these few days, you can go back after the signing ceremony." The next day, an important local newspaper was fried. There were too many things to do, and the page could not fit. The bidding for the industrial park will be relaunched, and some companies that have been shortlisted before will also be subject to review, revealing a shady scene. It is known that more than a dozen companies have been shortlisted through illegal means. Some companies in the local business community are eager to try, and the earthquake this time is tantamount to excluding some related households and freeing up a lot of space. Bai Maihua was released because it did not involve the internal affairs of the VIP hotel, and Manager Bai was also released. The VIP hotel was closed down. The two people who were originally beautiful did not know where to go for a while. Another day passed. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the Wild Rose Ballroom was very lively. A man with a flat head was dressed up, and he was dancing a veneer dance with an enchanting young woman in his arms. The two people in the crowd were particularly eye-catching. After the song was over, the lights on the scene turned on. The two returned to the booth. The woman was eating the fruit plate. The man stood up and said that he was going to the bathroom. He walked into the corridor to the bathroom, and suddenly hit him in the back. The man was slightly blinded by the smash, and hurriedly stepped back. Before turning around, a silk thread appeared in front of his neck. He was terrified and reached out to stop it. "What do you want to do? Believe it or not, I'll break your neck. Where's the money? Everyone is married, why is this? I ask you, where is the money?" 10 minutes later, my aunt went to a building and found a package in the closet, but the Wild Rose Ballroom called the police and found someone killed in the toilet. A week has gone by in a blink of an eye. For some people, this week has happened too much, and every day is changing rapidly. For Lu Feng, this week has been very pleasant. In addition to calling the company every day to inquire about some daily matters, recently due to illegal operations, a worker was hanged, and the compensation was stripped several layers by several executives. GFN Electronics was once again pushed to the forefront. Zhang Fengxia just mentioned this to Lu Feng. She was solely responsible for handling it, and spent the rest of the time chatting with Zhang Xiaoyan. Especially recently, the cosmetics factory has been doing well. It made more than 100,000 yuan last month. Zhang Xiaoyan excitedly told Lu Feng every day that she wanted to become an entrepreneur who surpassed him. Hearing that she was so ambitious, Lu Feng was also happy to see it succeed. He praised her a few words, saying that as long as his wife is strong, he can go home and do laundry and cook. Today is the signing ceremony for GFN Electronics to settle in the industrial park, and it is also a meeting of the news media. Many people came to the scene. At 9 o'clock in the morning, Lu Feng walked into the hotel in a brand new suit. He held a meeting with He Jiali and the others, and decided on some specific terms, including the arrival time of the interest-free loan, the method of payment, and the ownership of the factory. The ownership of subsequent construction, the use of foreign exchange indicators. GFN Electronics provides the model of the machine and the company it belongs to. It will be reported to the province by the local government. It will be reported in November and will be negotiated internationally. The advantage of this is that the order is large, the price can be cut down, the country does not have much foreign exchange, and life is tight. At 10 o'clock in the morning, as the host opened, everyone entered the venue one after another. Naturally, He Jiali gave a speech for half an hour, about the development of the local manufacturing industry, the advantages of introducing GFN Electronics, and the expectations for the future. How much the economy will be driven and how many jobs will be created. Next, I will invite the chairman of GFN Electronics, Mr. Lu Feng, to speak on the stage. There was sparse applause at the scene, and Lu Feng stepped onto the stage and said, "Dear leaders, friends from the press, good morning, everyone. I am very happy to be able to attend such a signing ceremony. We need a large volume factory, not only for the production of Wipita TVs, but in the near future, there will be more high-quality electronic products to meet with you." Lu Feng talked about the development of GFN Electronics, and boasted some data, which area is the first, which price is the lowest, and the after-sales service is the best. Then next, please officially sign the contract. Lu Feng sat down and opened the red folder in front of him. The hostess next to him held a tray with a pen on it. He picked up the pen and signed his name. After the two sides signed, they exchanged with He Jiali, and there was another round of applause at the scene. "Reporters, do you have any questions?" As soon as the host said this, many people at the scene rushed forward, pointing their finger at Lu Feng. "Excuse me, how do you respond to the problem that GFN Electronics compensation has been deducted? That worker has an old mother and a child who is waiting to be fed. After he falls, the mainstay of the family will be gone. The non-standard production of GFN Electronics led to such a tragedy. After the new factory is built, is it still unable to guarantee the safety of the workers? The compensation has been plundered. Some people say that you inspired it. Now many people say that you are a capitalist. What do you think?" Lu Feng's face was not very good because of these questions. Staring at these reporters, their noses were really sensitive, and he didn't want to answer, but he still said, "This matter is being properly handled, the worker is illegally operating, we will strengthen training, the compensation has been made up, and the relevant responsible persons are also being held accountable." "Okay, then today's signing ceremony has come to an end, thank you for your participation," the host said with a microphone. Lu Feng stood up and walked out, where a lot of reporters blocked him. "Why does GFN Electronics always get land and various funds? Can you tell me what your parents do? Mr. Lu, can you explain that you can always get the best preferential conditions? This time GFN Electronics factory is equivalent to giving away a factory area and a large amount of money. It was found out that the black box transaction is involved now. Woolen cloth. No comment. Lu Feng waved his hand and walked directly towards the car. Ye Wuxian helped to block it from behind. These reporters were definitely hired by someone who wanted to discuss Lu Feng. When he got into the car, the driver stepped on the accelerator, and the car sped away. When passing a bank, Lu Feng asked the driver to stop. He had no money on him. He had to buy a plane ticket or something. After getting out of the car, just after entering the gate of the bank, a girl approached, dressed a bit coquettishly. Lu Feng glanced at her. White plum blossoms. Lu Feng looked at her in disbelief. HTT. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 415. Bai Maihua raised her head and glanced at Lu Feng. Her eyes dodged a bit, but she still said, "What a coincidence, Mr. Lu. She has changed." The change was so fast that Lu Feng was somewhat unaware. "You didn't go to work?" Lu Feng looked at her up and down, with high heels on his feet, a leather bag in his hand, jeans with leggings, a white top with wide sleeves, and sunglasses stuck on his forehead. He said no out of style. "Go to work, I just found a job these days." Bai Maihua stared at Lu Feng and said, she seemed a little angry, as if she was telling Lu Feng that I liked it. "Why didn't you become a teacher?" "I earn less." "I know what you want to ask." "I told President K that I sold you and took some money," Bai Maihua said with a blushing face and a heartbeat. "It's all over, that." Lu Feng suddenly realized that he was eloquent and speechless at this moment. "You've changed a lot," Lu Feng said. "People always change, and everyone has their own path." "I understand it. I lived in that small mountain village for more than 20 years. I didn't know that the world was so beautiful, and people couldn't earn $300 in a lifetime." "Dollars?" Lu Feng nodded and said, "Just want to understand." "I'm leaving first." She waved her hand and said, "Goodbye by fate." Lu Feng watched her leave the bank and got into the co-pilot of the car, and it was Manager Ma who was driving. After going to the bank to withdraw some money, Lu Feng got back into the car and looked a little dazed by the dazzling sunlight outside. Ye Wuxian, who was driving beside him, said, "I saw that white plum blossom. I can't tell whether it's good or bad, and I don't know where to go." Straightforward. I have to admit that a person who has been in poverty all year round and has a desire for material things beyond ordinary people will frantically make up for himself once he has some kind of condition to obtain more material things. To put it simply, the poor become rich and arrogant and domineering. According to our words, I haven't seen a lot of money. It's controlled by money. In a moment, any morality and dignity can be forgotten. "Yes," Lu Feng nodded. Ye Silent glanced at Lu Feng and asked, "Mr. Lu, I remember that you started from scratch. It seems that you are not ordinary people. If I were you, I would have divorced my wife long ago. What are you fighting for? Those money will not be spent for a few lifetimes. Finish." Lu Feng laughed and said, "You are also calm. That's why people like me will never be able to reach your level in this life. If you have a little money, you can't recognize yourself. This is indeed true. By my what or uncle, who is not lost. In this era, it is not a dream to seize the opportunity to become rich overnight, but there are more people who lose everything overnight." On the way back, Lu Feng wondered if he had not been worth more than 2 billion in his last life, and his mentality had already been smoothed out by the number of money, whether he would have given Zhang Xiaoyan some money and sent her away. Man, once it expands, it's not far from the explosion. Lu Feng sighed and stopped talking. The car was parked downstairs. After getting out of the car, Lu Feng habitually glanced around. There were many people who offended him. Who knows when he will be hacked? He had already had this habit in his previous life. After looking around, he took out more than 1,000 yuan from his wallet and handed it to Ye Wuxian. "Help me book a ticket to Shenzhen tomorrow." "Okay, Mr. Lu." Ye Wuxian turned the car around and galloped towards the airport. Lu Feng went upstairs, had a simple meal, took a short rest, and called Zhang Fengxia's office. The assistant on the other end of the phone picked up the phone, and Zhang Fengxia's voice came after a while. "Mr. Lu, what's the matter?" "How about the injured worker?" Lu Feng asked. "It has been settled. The money was given yesterday. We also found a few newspapers and media to release the news today. The decision of those executives is still under discussion." "What are we discussing?" Lu Feng said with gloomy eyes. "All dismissed, deducted from this month's salary. Hold a meeting within the company, be strict, and at the same time open the person in charge of supervising safety production to me, and also open the deputy director in charge of safety production. Risk-related mechanical operation requires training. I've already had a meeting. Didn't I say that I'm fully responsible for this?" Zhang Fengxia said with some dissatisfaction in her voice. "You said it well yesterday, and you yell at me again today." "I didn't yell at you. I was blocked by a group of reporters at the signing ceremony today. Let the people in the business department quickly settle the matter. Recently, a few competent people have been selected to form a team here," Lu Feng said. "I feel that the recent trend of public opinion is not quite right. Recently, several reporters came here and said that we were exploiting workers and that we were a sweatshop. They wanted to expose us. As a result, the workers blocked the door and scolded us before we entered the factory." Zhang Fengxia said a few things that happened recently. Lu Feng knew that this kind of public opinion confrontation would be the norm. Although those competitors could not kill Lu Feng in the short term, some of the long-term public opinion trends would also do it. There will be a brand image department within the company to manage the company's brand, such as combining GFN electronics with beautiful words, so that people can form inertial thinking, such as GRI mastering core technology, Xiaomi born for fever, etc. Make the brand more friendly. And this kind of public opinion trend is reverse brand building, which associates competitors' brands with some bad words, such as sweatshop, shoddy manufacturing, and stealing. This kind of competition is a long-term competition and requires long-term operation. The simplest and crudest way to change the brand image is to donate money and do charity, but Lu Feng doesn't want to do charity now, and GFN electronics factories are tax-free. Charity money can be used to deduct taxes, which is equivalent to not spending money to gain a good reputation. Now if you do charity, it is really charity. The key is that GFN electronics is also poor. "How's the team at Xiangjiang?" "It's been a while since we went there," Lu Feng asked. 4 or 5 days ago, I made a phone call. Now the business department is mainly dealing with this matter, saying that it has found a few companies, and the valuation has been raised, but people don't quite recognize it. The company over there, the mainland, generally has a downward attitude, and during this time, I should be in contact with the two companies," Zhang Fengxia said vaguely. It can be heard that she also has some opinions on Wei Yandan. She originally wanted to cultivate her own person and fight against Zhu Lidong, but it ended up being a three-legged situation. "I'll call over there then and ask." "Then when are you coming back?" Zhang Fengxia's voice was a little expectant. "I'm not going back, I'll go to the R/U0026D company to hold a meeting and celebrate with Xiao Yan. By the way, she earned 100,000 yuan last month." Lu Feng suddenly felt as if something was wrong with her, and asked, "Is there something wrong with you letting me go back?" "I just miss you. Take it, pull it down, do your job well, and give you a bonus at the end of the year." "Oh, you have nothing else to do? Then I'll hang up." "Hang it? Zhang Fengxia hung up the phone and sat there feeling gloomy. She didn't know why she couldn't get up in high spirits. She called her family a few days ago, and the family said that she had grown too much in the past year. It was only now that Zhang Fengxia remembered that she had only known Lu Feng for more than a year, but in her heart, she felt that it was longer than studying abroad for several years. She has really grown up, and now Zhang Fengxia is more stable, and she can handle various problems with ease. Before, she had to call Gao Jiwei to ask, and the two have not been in touch for a long time. When Gao Jiwei first introduced her to Lu Feng, she was more like a big child, even a little naughty, but now she has become like this. Sitting there, Zhang Fengxia recalled how she had just met Lu Feng, pouted, her facial features twisted, and she made a face. She tried to make herself return to the silly self she used to be. Clang clang clang. There was a knock on the door. Zhang Fengxia's face suddenly became solemn, and she said solemnly, "Come in." The door opened. It was a little girl about her age, but facing Zhang Fengxia, she was unspeakably nervous. She held two folders and placed them on the table. "I see, let's get out." After the little girl left, her whole figure slumped in position like a deflated ball and sighed. After Lu Feng hung up the phone, he called Zhang Xiaoyan, but no one answered. He was probably busy, so he was not in a hurry and was half lying on the sofa watching TV. When it was almost evening, I called again and only picked up. The voice on the other end of the phone was a little gentle. "Hello? Who is it?" Lu Feng could hear it. She tried to make her voice lean on the boss, with a bit of majesty, but she is a gentle person, how could she have a sharp voice? Hearing this voice, the corners of Lu Feng's mouth rose unconsciously. "Who is it? Talk, the phone bill is very expensive." "Me," Lu Feng said with a smile, "I called you at 4 o'clock and no one answered." "What are you doing?" "A batch of goods has just left, and another order has been completed." The indescribable joy on the other end of the phone. "I'll go back tomorrow." "Is it done?" "Don't take the green train this time. If you can't buy a ticket, just drive back," Zhang Xiaoyan said with concern. "Slow down when you drive back. If you really can't, find a place to stay, but don't let anything happen." Lu Feng never told her what happened to him outside. In Zhang Xiaoyan's eyes, business was all about sitting down, wearing a suit and tie, and talking in a gentle manner, but he didn't know that there were also swords, guns, and sticks. "I don't want her to worry about it." "Where am I going?" "I'm going home." "Going home?" Zhang Xiaoyan became excited and asked, "Are you coming back?" "It's only been less than 2 months since you left." "It's been almost 2 months, what happened when I went home?" "You don't want me anymore," Lu Feng said angrily. "No. How could it be? You are the mainstay of the family. What I thought was that you should be back at the end of the year." "Well, I will arrange a meeting in a while. I won't come to the factory tomorrow." "Just in time, I have something to tell you." Zhang Xiaoyan was unspeakably happy, and laughed out loud as she talked. Hearing the joy on the phone, Lu Feng couldn't help laughing. He just went home, she just stopped going to the factory, she was a little woman after all. HTT. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 416. Zhang Xiaoyan hung up the phone, and she was so happy that she walked out of the office and said to her manager, "Zhigang, what's going on in the factory? You need more snacks, I won't be here for a few days." "Sister Xiaoyan, don't worry, why are you so happy?" a man in his 30s asked. "The man will come back tomorrow. I'll cook dinner at home." "I won't talk about it. I'll go back first. Please urge the final payment. If people are short of funds, don't rush too hard. Everyone has a time when they are nervous," Zhang Xiaoyan ordered. "Okay." Zhang Xiaoyan strode towards the car with her bag in hand, stuck her head out of the office next to her, and muttered, "You say, Mr. Jiang's man is so lucky to find such a woman. Didn't you listen to the old staff before, saying that she deserves it? She definitely deserves it. You can pull it down. How many words did those old employees say? I've never seen anyone who can match her when I grow up, so it's okay to be beautiful, the key is still virtuous, kind-hearted. You are angry? No, the old ladies in my family, some people are half gentle, I can just. Well, your old ladies are afraid of tigers when they see them. If you have something to do in the future, tell them to stay out of the factory." The man looked embarrassed and sighed, as if hiding a handful of bitter tears. The next day, Zhang Xiaoyan, wearing a trench coat, sunglasses, and loose hair, stood out in the crowd waiting at the airport. As the crowd walked out, Zhang Xiaoyan took off her sunglasses and glanced at the crowd carefully. Lu Feng had already come out with the suitcase in hand, and stood beside her and looked at her. "Beauty, what are you looking for?" Zhang Xiaoyan frowned slightly when she heard the chatter in her ear, and stood to the side. "Who are you looking for? What does it look like? I'll help you find it." Seeing that she was looking so earnestly, Lu Feng couldn't help teasing her. Zhang Xiaoyan didn't speak, but the buddy next to him couldn't bear it anymore, and pushed Lu Feng with his hand and said, "Brother, you have nothing to do, right? Why don't you see people ignore you? Girl, don't worry, I'm here." Lu Feng looked at him speechless. It was really because the beauty had something to do, and there was someone standing beside him. "What are you looking at? Get the hell out of here," he warned Lu Feng, as if he didn't think he was attracting beautiful women to look at him, and said, "I tell you, my buddy has power in Shenzhen. My brother is worth tens of millions. Lao Mei is doing business, transoceanic business, you know. Don't be uncomfortable here, it will irritate me, and you won't be able to take a phone call." "It has nothing to do with you," Lu Feng said. "It doesn't matter what. This is my partner, do you know? What do you want to do?" The man stared at Lu Feng and scolded, "Come on, get out." Zhang Xiaoyan saw that the crowd had already gone, and Lu Feng was still not found. The whole person panicked and turned around to look outside. As soon as she turned around, she saw Lu Feng. "You." Oops, she was angry and anxious, reached out and hit twice. "You stand here and don't say a word, I'm looking for you. Didn't this talk to you? You ignore me, go home." Lu Feng put his arms around her, ignoring the buddy whose face was green at all, and put his arm around Zhang Xiaoyan, one hand dragged the suitcase out. The people around looked at the buddy with uncontrollable expressions on their faces. Lu Feng took a few steps and turned his head to look at him. Although he didn't tell him who he was or how rich he was, Lu Feng knew in his heart that he was casual. A hug has already won him too much. When he got in the car, Lu Feng didn't see Duo and asked, "Is Duo going to school today?" "Yes, it's not Saturday or Sunday. I told her last night that you were coming back. She asked me what gift you brought her." Lu Feng looked at himself, empty-handed, anxious to go home to see his wife, forgetting his daughter, and smiled awkwardly at Zhang Xiaoyan. "If she's here, she can make a fuss about you all the way." Zhang Xiaoyan drove the car, her face full of thoughts, and said, "Guess what I've been doing recently?" Lu Feng couldn't help laughing when he saw her waiting for compliments. Shaking his head, he said, "Mr. Zhang, someone like you must be doing big business, I can't guess." "You teasing me?" Zhang Xiaoyan reached out and patted Lu Feng. "Where can I guess? I'm mainly doing research and development now, and I have come up with a hand cream, which sells very well. Recently, these orders are all for hand cream, and I also got an invitation letter for a fashion show." Zhang Xiaoyan couldn't help but be overjoyed. "Oh, Mr. Zhang is worthy of being Mr. Zhang. I didn't expect you to be suitable for our /U0026D. It's my mistake. I'm disrespectful. President Zhang will help me more in the future. If you make money, maybe you can invest in me, Lu Feng said. You. Are you playing tricks on me? Zhang Xiaoyan wrinkled her nose, stopped in front of the traffic light, raised her hands and said, pinch you. I was wrong, Lu Feng laughed. Am I great? Then don't look at who the wife is, she will definitely be a big boss in the cosmetics industry in the future. Lu Feng leaned back and took out a cigarette from his pocket. No smoking. I read in a scientific journal that smoking is not good for pregnancy. Zhang Xiaoyan reached out and took the cigarette away and said, quit it. You, still studying pregnancy? Lu Feng asked cautiously. Nonsense, can I not care? The smile on Zhang Xiaoyan's face sank. The atmosphere in the car became cold. Lu Feng thought for a while and said, what's for lunch? I made dinner at home. The car stopped at the door of the villa. Lu Feng put his head towards Zhang Xiaoyan, and when the other party turned around, the two kissed. Oops, you. Pinch you. Zhang Xiaoyan blushed. Why do you always like to be greasy and crooked outside? What does it look like to be seen? Lu Feng laughed and said aggrieved, I was just doing my hands and feet outside, and I came home. You can't wait to eat me, who the two of us are rascals. I can see it, you are itchy, look for pinch. Lu Feng opened the car door and ran down. One of the couple ran in front and the other chased behind, which attracted many people to open the window to look at it. After a while, it was too much. Zhang Xiaoyan squatted on the ground with her head in her arms and cried. Lu Feng hurried over to coax him, but he couldn't coax him well, so he picked it up and walked home. Sitting on the sofa, Zhang Xiaoyan wiped away her tears and said, the neighbors are laughing at that woman's man, who hasn't seen each other once in a few months, runs after you as soon as he comes back, making it look like I cannibalize people. You dare not come back. Where is it? You just think too much, Lu Feng coaxed. I was wrong. Not accepted. Go out to buy clothes and bags in the afternoon. Don't. Zhang Xiaoyan pursed her lips and hugged her legs on the sofa. Then let's go out to play. Don't go. I'll cook you dinner tonight. Don't eat. Zhang Xiaoyan glanced at him, her eyes were no longer in business, and her eyes wandered, what do you think I need? Seeing her like this, Lu Feng squeezed out a smile and said, don't coax it, it's not good to coax it. Just coax and guess what I want. I can't guess, I'm not good at coaxing, I'm not coaxing. Oh, it's very simple, just guess again, and I'll give you 100 chances. Zhang Xiaoyan's eyes lit up. I'll take a day off, okay. I'll talk about it at night. Duo came back at night. Zhang Xiaoyan stood up and brought out the food from the kitchen, put the rice in front of him, put the chopsticks in his hand, opened his mouth to say something, but was a little shy, lying on Lu Feng's ear side whispered, old husband eats. Hearing her words, Lu Feng blushed with thick skin. He took a deep breath and said, this afternoon, it's worth my death. What? The two were eating and chatting about the recent cosmetics factory. Zhang Xiaoyan seemed to be holding back. The factory's personnel transfer, market demand, product development, and cosmetics city were all nagging to Lu Feng. The day after tomorrow is a fashion show, and Zhang Xiaoyan wanted to take Lu Feng there. In the name of his family, Lu Feng was also happy to set off her, and nodded in agreement. Zhang Xiaoyan is much more cheerful. The messy magazines on the table have not been renewed for a long time. She has her own life direction, and it seems that she is not as worried about her children as before. After eating, they put the tableware and chopsticks into the kitchen, and the two of them went upstairs together. Little Beeshung was newly married. How could Lu Feng not miss her? He just liked the way she looked. At 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Lu Feng found his clothes and said, it's time to pick up the child. What time is it? Zhang Xiaoyan said lazily. It's 5 o'clock. Does time go by so fast? The two packed up and went out. They passed a gift shop and bought a few dolls for Duo. In the dim sky, the lights of the villa turned on. Lu Feng suggested going out to eat, but Zhang Xiaoyan refused. The kitchen was fragrant. Duo sat aside to continue her turning head career, playing with dolls. Lu Feng took a stool and sat at the door, looking at the sea not far away. This moment is very peaceful and makes people feel at ease. There is nothing that can replace the happiness that arises from the bottom of my heart. This is how life is, plain and simple. Clap clap clap. De Huang. Come here, Duo suddenly shouted in the distance. Lu Feng turned his head and saw a yellow dog, running over and wagging its tail. Will I put some makeup on for you? Make a braid. Duo hugged the big dog happily, for fear that it would run away. Lu Feng watched the little guy excitedly take out a small pink box, but he was excited to draw a picture, or she could play. After playing for a while, the dog no longer looked like a dog, and she lost interest. She looked around for a target and saw Lu Feng. Dad! Dad, give me a call, don't play with the dog, be careful not to get bitten. Lu Feng stood up and walked into the house. How could Duo let him go? He picked up his little box and swaggered after him. HTT. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 417. Lu Feng held Duo with one hand to prevent her from making trouble, and pressed the phone number with the other hand to call Lu Cheng. Hey, who is it? Lu Cheng's voice came from the other end of the phone. Liukan, it's me, Lu Feng. How's the latest product development going? Lu Feng asked. Our projects are progressing relatively smoothly. The product development work has been completed, and we are now conducting product testing and adjustment. At present, there are radios, tape players, and home theater players. The products listed by competitors in the market are mainly concentrated in these areas. Money. Lu Cheng paused and said, Mr. Lu, you can come here if you have time. I'm in Shenzhen right now. Is tomorrow suitable? Lu Feng asked. Tomorrow is too urgent. Let's prepare, the day after tomorrow. The day after tomorrow, I have something to do. Let's get to the day after tomorrow. How does the current product compare to the products on the market? Lu Feng asked. Mr. Lu, you also know that this year's funding is only 15 million, most of which is spent on TVR/U0026D and talent training. The development of small electronic products is only a few months away. We combine the characteristics of some products for research and development. The quality can be guaranteed, Lu Cheng said very euphemistically. Lu Feng already understood after hearing what he said. It mainly depends on marketing. Next year, how much improvement can we make in this area? At least we have to have our own main attack characteristics, find the direction of product development, and make our own stunts. You submitted several R/U0026D budget plans before. Thinking there isn't enough money, the business has been restructured, and you haven't restructured. Lu Cheng on the other end of the phone was stunned when he heard this. Is this Jiafeng Electronics from the poor? Haha. Why does it smell like a rich man? Lu Cheng had inquired about the company's financial situation with the financial person. According to the person in charge of finance, he likened Jiafeng Electronics to a person. Looking a little further in the long run, he felt that the child would starve to death sooner or later. Mr. Lu, has our company raised funds? I haven't heard of it, Lu Cheng wondered. No, there are plans to raise funds, and a team has been sent to Xiangjiang. Then, that's because your old man made gong again. What? Lu Feng wondered, what do you want to say? The budget that I submitted before was calculated according to the top grade. The highest share of 30 million has soared by 100% compared with this year. It's okay, the new factory has been negotiated, and there will be some surplus. Don't think too much about the money issue, you can just do research and development for me. The market for small household appliances must stand firm, and there will be explosive growth in the next few years. Next year's if the R/U0026D budget is low, it will be 50 million, and if it is high, it will be 100 million. 50 million? 1 billion? These two numbers bombarded Lu Cheng's ears, and the whole person was stunned on the spot, tears welling up in his eyes. R/U0026D is a waste of money. If you don't have your own laboratory, you need to ask for this, ask for that, and even find a technical boss waiting at the door, wanting to learn other people's things. I don't know how many faces I have seen. Mr. Lu, as long as the money is in place, it's not a problem for you to make me a spaceship, Lu Cheng said excitedly. There are more tasks with more money, so let's talk about this on the phone first. Lu Feng actually wanted to chat with him more, but there was a troublemaker beside him, so he hung up the phone. Lu Feng glared at Duo Duo, who was holding a paintbrush in his hand. You kid, it's getting more and more outrageous. The hand that Duo Duo was about to draw froze in mid-air, the small mouth was curled up, and the big black eyes formed a cloud of mist. Zhang Xiaoyan had already put the food on the table and was about to call Lu Feng to eat, but she saw that he couldn't help but burst out laughing. What your daughter did, I made a phone call, Lu Feng said helplessly. At this moment, Lu Feng's eyebrows are drawn extra thick, his eyes have turned into dark circles, his face is red, and he looks indescribably funny. Duo Duo put down the pen in his hand, a big tear fell, and he was about to cry. Paint and paint, Lu Feng hurriedly coaxed, draw it? How to draw, how to draw? Stop painting and want to eat? After eating, she talked a lot about her school. She is already in a big class, and the first grade will start next summer, so she needs to change schools. Duo Duo is a smart kid, but he is more of a skin, and he is not a quiet master in the kindergarten. In addition, Lu Feng is often absent, and Zhang Xiaoyan is a little spoiled. A little spoiled. While eating and educating Duo Duo, Lu Feng was actually very happy when he saw her like this. He still remembered the first time he saw her, that look of panic and fear, hiding behind Zhang Xiaoyan's calf. Compared to Duo Duo back then, Lu Feng likes her more now. Dad, I want a younger brother. Duo Duo suddenly raised his head and rushed towards Lu Feng. Lu Feng looked at Zhang Xiaoyan, and the other party quickly denied it. I didn't teach it. Why? Many children have younger brothers. Duo Duo's voice was full of longing. The picture that Lu Feng thought of in an instant was that the elder sister was taking care of the younger brother. The younger sister and younger brother loved each other and played with each other. With a younger brother, how are you going to take care of him? Lu Feng asked. I beat him and asked him to get me something. Sun Ziohan in our class has a younger brother. Her younger brother is so fun. He rides on him as a big horse, Duo Duo said happily. Hearing this, Lu Feng covered his forehead with his hands, and was speechless, but when he thought about it, it was also true that the so-called siblings he knew had fought fiercely when they were young. Zhang Xiaoyan sat on the side and didn't speak anymore. If there was another child and bullied another child like this, Zhang Xiaoyan could really not be biased. My younger brother is for love, Lu Feng said, standing up and starting to clean up the tableware. I'll clean up, you can go to work, Zhang Xiaoyan said. It's really impossible to hire a nanny at home, you have to wash the dishes yourself. Just wash a few dishes and hire a nanny. How much money? Zhang Xiaoyan entered the kitchen with the dishes, and Lu Feng followed with a few dishes. Zhang Xiaoyan neatly packed up and said, you said that this child grows up day by day and becomes more and more naughty. In the future, there will be. If you had a biological child, would you like it a lot? Lu Feng interrupted her and asked. What are you talking about? Keep your voice low and talk nonsense about everything. Zhang Xiaoyan glared at him and whispered, Duo Duo is also my child. He has been by my side in a few months, with a POO and a P. The pull is big. You didn't hear her say that you want to ride a big horse. It's normal for a child to fight and make trouble. Let me tell you, don't mention it again in the future. No matter how much he is or is not there, this child has become more and more skinny in the past 2 years. What's the matter? I still feel bad. Zhang Xiaoyan was washing the dishes and muttering, but when she faced Duo, she was still the same. Lu Feng went to wash his face. Originally, he planned to make a phone call to Xiang Zhang. The financing must be done before the end of the year, otherwise this year will be really bad. It was almost November, and it was autumn in Shenzhen. The temperature was a little higher and lower, so Lu Feng coaxed Duo to sleep and simply packed up her toys. Zhang Xiaoyan changed into pajamas and came out, holding a large newspaper. Show you this year's fashion show, what people use for makeup. Zhang Xiaoyan sat down and flipped through the magazine, pointing to the characters on it and telling Lu Feng. What eyebrow color, eyeliner, primer, eyeshadow? Lu Feng yawned. Inviting her to the fashion show is to mix fashion and cosmetics together, which can be regarded as a kind of micro-innovation. Zhang Xiaoyan is talking about what materials and how to skin. Are you listening? Listen, listen, Lu Feng yawned again as he spoke, and it could be seen that he was really not interested in this. Pull it down, go to sleep. Zhang Xiaoyan stood up and pulled Lu Feng's hand. Go upstairs. Are you sure it's simply sleeping? Lu Feng asked suspiciously. Why are you like this? You're just sleeping. I'm tired, just sleep, okay. Oh, you are gone, can I still lie to you? Rest. Zhang Xiaoyan pulled Lu Feng's hand upstairs. A few minutes later, Lu Feng's voice came from the room. Don't move around, you're doing something wrong. In Xiangjiang, in a large hotel under the night, the two parties had a great conversation. The representative of GFN Electronics was at the dinner table with each other, and the big frame had already been set. As long as the company agrees and continues to talk about small details, the issue of financing can be settled within a month. The other party is a medium-sized financial company, mainly engaged in venture capital investment, with a capital of about 50 billion yuan, and has a great interest in mainland investment, and the two sides have been in contact for some time. After the dinner was over, at the door of the hotel, the two parties agreed to continue the talks next week. They needed to report to the top. As long as they confirmed that there was no problem, they could sign the contract immediately. In a room, a woman was sitting on the sofa with Erlang's legs crossed, with a somewhat enchanting figure, a lady's cigarette in her hand, a goblet on the table next to it, and a man standing opposite. Which company did they contact? The woman asked. The conversation with Tianhong Investment was very good, and Tianhong Investment also intends to invest in the mainland to pave the way for long-term investment. Don't ask about it. President Chen doesn't like you to ask about the company, the man advised. If she doesn't like me, just ask me. I've said it all. I have a grudge against this GFN Electronics. You don't hold any positions in the company, and you're not a shareholder of the company. To be honest, I won't come today, and you won't recruit me either. Then why don't you come? Because you know, if you don't come, you won't have any good fruit to eat. Does this Tianhong Investment have anything to do with us? Yes, we are a guarantee company for it, and half of their fund wealth management products are guaranteed by us. Very good, nothing to do with you. The woman leaned on the sofa and waved her hand, motioning for him to leave, and took a puff of cigarette. Her coquettish red lips looked even more charming under the smoke. HTT. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 418. The next day, Lu Feng and Zhang Xiaoyan sent their children to school together. The weather was not too cold. The two of them strolled along the beach together, holding hands. Time passed very slowly. In the afternoon, I went to the supermarket, bought vegetables, and chatted about tomorrow's fashion show. Zhang Xiaoyan seemed very excited, looking at Lu Feng like a child who won an award, eager to be praised. Lu Feng didn't hesitate to praise her, and he almost praised her for the whole day. The next day, the fashion show officially opened. The so-called fashion show was just a combination of several clothing companies in the city and several cosmetic companies, borrowing foreign names, and looking for a few foreigners to stand there as facades. The most important thing is that there are awards activities. These awards are clearly priced. Some companies lack the ability of self-marketing and need to take advantage of the popularity of foreign awards. Many people see such business opportunities and hold such activities everywhere. It was easy to earn hundreds of thousands in one game. Of course, Lu Feng knew that Zhang Xiaoyan also spent money, but he didn't reveal it. After sending Duo to the kindergarten in the morning, Zhang Xiaoyan started to get busy. After dressing up for more than an hour, Lu Feng was stunned when he saw her. She was dressed in a long blue evening dress, which set off her particularly gorgeous. There was light makeup on her face, and her hair was scattered like a waterfall. "What are you looking at? Hurry up and change your clothes," Zhang Xiaoyan urged Lu Feng in a daze. "It's just to participate in a fashion show, and you don't go on stage, so you dress like this," Lu Feng wondered. "It's all women who went there today. It's the home of women. Do you know that you're a family member today?" Zhang Xiaoyan was a bit arrogant. Lu Feng had always taken her out, but this time, he was leading her out. Yes, it's all up to you," Lu Feng teased a few words and went back to change his clothes. He couldn't embarrass his wife. Lu Feng put on his suit and put on some hairspray, looked at himself in the mirror and nodded and went out. Today's theme is the Global Autumn Fashion Show. The door has been rolled out on the red carpet. Beautifully dressed women are walking on the red carpet. Many reporters from magazines and newspapers are constantly taking pictures. I don't know if people think it's a star meeting. Zhang Xiaoyan got out of the car, pulled Lu Feng's hand, her face flushed red, and as she got out of the car, a flash of lights, all kinds of clicks came. Lu Feng can be considered a person who has seen the world, but he is still nervous by this scene, and he secretly thinks that the person who organized this event is definitely a master. This kind of scene is very accurate to capture the mind of women who love beauty, dress up beautifully, take pictures, send them to major magazines, then have a runway show, and finally have a buffet, award, and the money will be got it. The key is that these companies are also particularly satisfied. When they entered, they were surrounded by Ying and Yan, and some of the women were so blatantly dressed that Lu Feng was embarrassed to look at them. "Mr. Zhang, today is so beautiful," a polite voice sounded. "You're in good shape, and Sister Hong is there too." Zhang Xiaoyan stopped. Lu Feng saw a woman in a white dress. Although she had put on makeup, she could still see the traces of the years on her face. "Is this your man?" "Hello, my name is Lu Feng." Lu Feng extended his hand and said politely. "It's so handsome. This Sister Hong is very popular." After a while, a dozen people gathered here, all pulling their men, some young girls pulling a bald old man, and some women in their 40s with a handsome guy in his 20s. All kinds of combinations, all kinds of strange. "This is my husband, the chairman of the construction company." "Really? Hello, I'm in bulk trade. My husband's family is engaged in international trade, and they are mainly in the United States." A group of men were all polite, only Lu Feng stood there and did not speak. The atmosphere was very lively. One said that he was worth more than 1 billion yuan, and the other said that he knew who and how. Anyway, there was no ordinary person. Mr. Zhang, your man doesn't like talking very much, Sister Hong asked. Maybe not familiar with it? Introduce yourself. My name is Lu Feng, I'm doing a little business. Lu Feng glanced at Zhang Xiaoyan and teased, actually, I can't make much money from business, I mainly eat soft rice. Eat soft rice? Say it so openly and shamelessly. The handsome guy next to him gave Lu Feng a secret thumbs up, thinking in his heart, he is eating soft food, he has to pretend to be a rich kid, but this one can say it without blushing and heartbeat, a role model for my generation. Everyone present was shocked, and some couldn't react. Zhang Xiaoyan pinched him secretly, but didn't let him brag about anything, as long as he told the truth. Lu Feng thought differently. At first glance, these people looked like homeless people. It's not that he looked down on Zhang Xiaoyan, but he was someone who could mix with Zhang Xiaoyan now. As long as Lu Feng told them his identity, these people would definitely curry favor. Lu Feng himself is very easy to deal with such flattering people. There was a young boss who wanted to get a supplier quota from him. He chased and blocked Lu Feng every day. Whenever he saw Lu Feng's car, he personally carried a bucket to clean the car. Going to the office to mop the floor and do the laundry, he works hard without complaining, without saying a word. There are always people in this world who will do anything for the sake of opportunity. He can handle it, but Zhang Xiaoyan can't handle it. For this kind of person, attacking a Zhang Xiaoyan is simply a matter of hand. There was a bit of sarcasm in everyone's expressions, but they didn't show it. Zhang Xiaoyan is also a person with status now, and everyone is a friend, so there is no need. Let's take our seats first. After Lu Feng finished speaking, he dragged Zhang Xiaoyan and walked over there. The two became popular, and Sister Hong burst out laughing, covering her mouth with her hands, and the others were also full of smiles. I heard before that her man is very rich. Humph, blow, who can't brag? The young handsome guy looked at the woman beside him and said, Mr. Zhang is so good looking, why do you still use it to support the little white face? The woman next to him was instantly unhappy when she heard this, and glared at him. The other side shrank her neck in horror. How can soft rice be so delicious? If people are unhappy, he will be finished. Mister, he is here. Sister Hong turned her head and said to a woman in her 40s, with a pleasing smile on her face. I was almost late, I thought it started. Mister, he was slightly fat, wearing a loose dress, with a man in his 40s around his arm. The man was a bit heroic, standing there with a straight waist. It's all right, mister, he won't come. I don't dare to start this fashion show. Is this your lover? Let me introduce, this is my husband, surnamed Zhong, the boss of Galaxy Science and Technology. Although these people don't know what Xing Kechuang does, they know that Mr. He's man is really rich, and he definitely has tens of millions of assets, maybe even hundreds of millions. Mr. He's clothing factory is just a hobby. Everyone swarmed up, and the rich and Mr. Zhong were all polite and handed business cards. Lu Feng found a seat and sat down. Zhang Xiaoyan was a little unhappy sitting next to him and asked, why do you say you eat soft rice? Isn't this just for you? My man is a little white face who eats soft rice. What face do I have on my face? I told them all, you are the big boss. Zhang Xiaoyan sat down and said. You didn't tell them which company, did you? Lu Feng asked hurriedly. That's not it. Lu Feng felt more at ease, and told her the reasoning in a low voice, telling the truth even if he didn't meet anyone. Where is it? Like you said, everyone is rich, not bad, Zhang Xiaoyan said very stupidly and sweetly. Seeing her like this, Lu Feng sighed. The poor and the rich are compared. In front of ordinary people, they are indeed rich and noble, but in front of Lu Feng, they are poor. To make friends, you need to make useful friends. If only a friend can use your place, you will never need him. What do you want the other party to do? Lu Feng asked. Right. Zhang Xiaoyan didn't seem to agree with Lu Feng's statement, and said, "Isn't making friends because we can chat together?" For it. Lu Feng had nothing to say. It was true, but it wasn't. The two were chatting, and saw Sister Hong's group come over, surrounded by Mr. He and his wife, who were extremely enthusiastic and sincere, and kept inviting them to sit at home when they were free. They seemed to get along better with these two, Lu Feng said. Zhang Xiaoyan saw that a group of people seemed to treat her like air, her expression was a little lost, and she stopped arguing. These people were too enthusiastic. Mr. He and his wife wanted to sit down, but they couldn't shirk. They kept saying okay. The two took advantage of the situation to sit beside Lu Feng, and Sister Hong was quick-witted and sat beside Mr. He. A woman came over, glanced at Lu Feng, and said, "What did you say your name was?" "My name is Lu Feng." Oh. You sit over there." The woman pointed to a place not far away. "Our seat is here," Zhang Xiaoyan said. "Change it, it's the same everywhere." "Okay." Lu Feng stood up and took his things to go. Mr. Zhong was a little impatient with the entanglement. He leaned on the chair and glanced over with Erlang's legs crossed. He was stunned when he saw Lu Feng. "Mr. Lu." "What?" Lu Feng turned his head to look at President Zhong. He didn't know him. "You are Mr. Lu of GFN Electronics, right?" Mr. Zhong was overjoyed, and hurriedly stood up with a smile on his face. He grabbed Lu Feng's hand with both hands, and said excitedly, "I didn't expect to meet you here." "Mr. Lu?" Everyone present was stunned and looked at Lu Feng. No, Lu Feng hurriedly waved his hand and said, "You have mistaken the person. Shouldn't be. I had a drink with you at the electronics conference. It must have been you. There were so many people at the time, and you were the youngest." President Zhong took Lu Feng's hand, preventing him from leaving, and said, "You sit down, sit here." Lu Feng really didn't want to sit down, but he saw how polite these people were to this President Zhong just now. Now this person is still so enthusiastic about himself. If his identity is known, the days behind Zhang Xiaoyan will definitely be bombarded by all kinds of sugar-coated cannonballs. HTT. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 419. Lu Feng was pulled and sat in the seat. The woman who had just let Lu Feng give way stared blankly and wanted to speak, but felt that he couldn't save President Zhong's face. Standing there and not wanting to go. President Zhong pulled Lu Feng's hand and said, "Mr. Lu, I am the chairman of Galaxy Science and Technology. I mainly do circuit design, material analysis, and other work. I have a cooperative relationship with your R/U0026D company. You can ask President Lu." "Of." "You're mistaken, I'm not the President Lu you know," Lu Feng explained. "How is this possible?" "He's President Jiang's man," the woman standing opposite said. "President Zhong, you know all the big men, how could you be here?" "This auntie talks too much, I'm a soft eater." Lu Feng asked the woman, "How old are you?" "I'm 29, the woman said with a drooping face. "Aya, you're immortal at such a young age," Lu Feng praised. The woman's face became completely ugly, and several women next to her also spoke up. "Mr. Zhong, don't pay attention to him, and don't look at his useless appearance. You're talking to him to give him face, so don't speak well." "That's right, I don't know what the arrogance is, just like that, what does it look like? Don't pay attention to him, don't sit with him, bad luck, sit next to me." Lu Feng listened to the words of these women who were trying to save face, smiled and nodded again and again. These women are really God teammates. Mr. He patted his man's arm on the side, and he was considered a respectable person among these people, and said in a low voice, "Don't be ashamed." Mr. Zhong felt aggrieved. He could be sure that this was the CEO of GFN Electronics. his company cooperated with the R/U0026D company to develop the circuit. Their company is mainly engaged in circuit design and materials. When making plans, they will cooperate with some material suppliers, and the plans provided to the R/U0026D company include the materials of these cooperative companies. As long as the plan is finalized, the material suppliers are all suppliers of GFN Electronics, and the money will come rushing. Lyokan rejected their company's plan, believing that many of the materials were unnecessary and expensive, which did not meet Lufeng's requirements. I've been anxious for Mr. Zhong these past few days. I couldn't sleep well at night. I tried to contact the senior executives of GFN Electronics. They all call Zhongfeng Xia. There is only Lufeng. He almost blew up Lufeng's phone, but he couldn't find anyone. He heard that he was in Dongguan and was going to look for it, but he met him here. How could he be unhappy? President Zhong stopped talking, but he didn't change his seat. The host on the stage came up, dressed very delicately. 80% of the venue today were women. With the introduction of some enterprises, there are also introductions to clothing, cosmetic styles and shapes. Maybe I'm too one-sided, so let's let our models show you the most fashionable makeup and costumes, sound engineers, and music in the fall of 1993. The music of Play Twice was played at the scene, and by the stage stood a well-dressed man with strands of hair. I don't know if he touched a few bottles of hairspray on it. A model came up, with long legs and a good figure. Lufeng came to the spirit, and thought to himself, this industry is still good, what kind of electronics are you doing? Zhang Xiaoyan could clearly see what he was thinking, and rolled his eyes at him. Denim trousers can outline the figure, and the upper body is matched with a loose high-shoulder dress, which makes women more imposing. The designer explained. Mr. Zhong's heart was not on the model at all. He glanced at Lufeng quietly, and whispered, Mr. Lu, our company's design draft is really good. Can I invite you to dinner at noon? I'm really not the person you know, I'm just a soft eater, Lufeng whispered. As for the design draft you're talking about, I don't understand what you're talking about. Mr. Lu, it's not easy to make a circuit design diagram. Mr. Lu doesn't want a word, I can't explain it, can you give me a chance? I beg you, don't play with me. I didn't play you, you played me, I beg you, okay, Lufeng stared at him and asked. Seeing that Lufeng had already said such words, Mr. Zhong glanced at him suspiciously and said nothing more. Lufeng secretly breathed a sigh of relief, this matter was finally over. Listening to his tone, Lu Cheng probably avoided him now. Watching the beauties on the stage come and go, Lufeng took Zhang Xiaoyan's hand, and Zhang Xiaoyan told him about cosmetics from time to time, and what kind of effect the product had when it was put on the face. Lufeng doesn't care about that, he just thinks that his legs are really long and they look so white. After more than an hour, I was not tired from sitting. The host came to the stage and said a lot of nonsense, telling everyone that the morning makeup and clothing show had ended, the organizing committee would conduct internal scoring, and the major awards would be announced in the afternoon, and it was time for lunch. Prepared a sumptuous seafood buffet. Everyone stood up and walked to the restaurant. Many of the people who had just met each other handed over business cards to each other. Some had already begun to discuss cooperation, from sales channels to design plans and production. Zhang Xiaoyan took her bag, which also contained a lot of business cards, which she would need later. Mr. He, the dress just now is very good. I think it will sell well by changing the material and reducing the price. I also think it's good, the explosion of this autumn and winter. Mr. Zhong, please, let's go to dinner first, don't you know much about our clothing industry? If you are curious, you can ask me, this industry is deep in water. The crowd had already surrounded Mr. Zhong, but Mr. Zhong turned his attention to Lufeng. Zhang Xiaoyan went to talk to Sister Hong politely, and didn't wait any longer. She walked towards the restaurant and said on the way, "What do you think? What do you think? Call yourself a little whiteface," Zhang Xiaoyan said dissatisfiedly. "I look like, tell them that I rely on my face to eat, it's hard to make people believe it," Lu Feng is particularly confident. Zhang Xiaoyan completely convinced him. People said that he was the boss outside, but he was a good boss, saying that he was a white face. As long as you are happy, you are also a family member today. There will be many sellers in a while. You can help me talk. Don't worry, my tongue is not rotten, I will make you soft on your order, Lu Feng assured confidently. There were a lot of people in the restaurant, there were at least 300 people today. Ying Ying Yanyan was dazzling, all kinds of perfume smells mixed together. Lu Feng sneezed several times. Zhang Xiaoyan became polite after taking 2 bites. A group of women surrounded several people and introduced their products. Some models had used their products on stage just now. Looking at these people, Lu Feng picked up a big lobster and leaned on the table to eat it. Although he didn't eat much, at least he could fill his stomach. President Zhong still didn't give up, looking for Lu Feng in the crowd, saw him eating lobster there, and came over. Lu Feng had a headache when he saw him, and hurriedly said, "Big brother. You really got the wrong person." "Mr. Lu," a woman's voice sounded. Lu Feng turned his head and followed the voice, and saw a woman. He really knew this woman. She met Lu Quan at a dinner party, called Sister Wu. Lu Feng took a deep breath, really afraid of what to do. "You got the wrong person. How is that possible? I know you all turned into ashes. You are the #1 person in the whole country, and you are worth billions at a young age," Sister Wu said excitedly. "Young and worth billions." Sister Wu's words made the originally noisy environment with Lu Feng as the center, and a vacuum area appeared in a radius of 5 or 6 meters. In an instant, there was silence, and everyone was staring at Lu Feng. "The boss of Jiafeng Electronics, I didn't leave a phone call at the Cosmetics City last time." Sister Wu walked forward enthusiastically and took out her business card. Lu Feng looked at the business card she handed over, his face twitched, he just wanted to keep a low profile. "Why is it so difficult? I took the business card and thought about it. Sometimes, the less you admit that you are rich, the more the other party thinks you are rich. Do the opposite. I originally wanted to keep a low profile, but my strength doesn't allow it. Now that I'm recognized, I'll have a showdown. That's right, I'm the only young entrepreneur in the country, worth tens of billions, handsome and capable." Lu Feng smiled evilly at everyone, walked over to Zhang Xiaoyan, and said, "This is my wife. I hope everyone will give me a face, support my wife's factory, and place more orders." When everyone heard this, they sneered and listened to it as a joke. President Zhong hurried over and said, "I ordered 1 million items." When everyone saw this situation, they laughed even more disdainfully. The means of playing this kind of childcare on this occasion really treated everyone as a fool. Only Sister Hong's eyes were full of shock. Spending 1 million to please Lu Feng is definitely worth the money. If the design drawings of Zhong's head office can be finalized, 5 million will be worth it. Lu Feng looked at President Zhong and said in a low voice, "Lu Cheng is in charge of everything in the R/U0026D company, and I won't interfere." Mr. Zhong stood there with a bitter face. In front of others, he was a handsome boss. In front of upstream companies like Lu Feng, he was also a part-time worker. "Mr. Lu, have a meal together when you have time, I have a few young girls." Lu Feng didn't let her finish his sentence, he glared at Sister Wu and dragged Zhang Xiaoyan inside. Zhang Xiaoyan's face was already ugly, and she said unhappily, "What girl?" "It's the duck head, and duck wings. I've eaten together before, and there is a family's duck head and duck wings that are delicious. She knows I like it, so she wants to hook me up with this," Lu Feng explained. Road. Real. I'll take you to eat someday. Lu Feng saw that her face had softened a lot, and his dangling heart was relieved. He held a red wine glass and followed Zhang Xiaoyan to be polite. The time for a meal was also rewarding. After talking about a few small orders, Zhang Xiaoyan was a little gloomy. Obviously, she paid more than this. HTT. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 420. Several awards were presented in the afternoon, and the people who came to the stage to accept the awards all arranged various photos, and these photos were to be hung in the office and displayed as a company brand. Zhang Xiaoyan won an award in the category of cosmetics, and Lu Feng didn't ask much about how much it cost, but he was definitely at a loss. How Lu Feng fooled people in the past, Zhang Xiaoyan will be fooled now, and he has to pay back when he comes out. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the fashion show was over. Mr. Zhong looked at Lu Feng unwillingly, but he also knew that it was useless to pester him. Sister Wu came over and whispered, "Mr. Lu, leave a business card. I just wanted to tell you last time, my network is very large, you can find anyone you want, know me, you won't deficit." "What are you doing?" Lu Feng squinted at her, his expression self-evident. "Mr. Lu, you're wrong, I'm a serious person, and I do serious things. The executives' high-end dinner parties, events, lobbying between companies, and introductions between celebrity artists are all involved. Sister Wu looks like she has a huge network of connections. I want to get acquainted with you. It is also a resource. Let's help each other. Besides, we have met several times. This is fate." "Okay. Okay." Lu Feng was also afraid of her. He took out a business card from his arms and handed it over. Sister Wu was overjoyed, took the business card with both hands and said, "I can connect with anyone you want to meet or know, and feel free to speak up if you need anything." "Everything," Sister Wu lowered her voice and said clearly, "models, celebrities, or something." Lu Feng ignored her, walked over to Zhang Xiaoyan, and said hello to Sister Hong, who became polite and invited Lu Feng as a guest before leaving. Mr. He and Mr. Zhong are very polite. After walking out of the venue at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Lu Feng sat in the co-pilot and looked at Zhang Xiaoyan and said, "If someone borrows money from you, don't borrow it." "Borrow money?" Zhang Xiaoyan wondered. "Yes, your husband is already a billionaire. If they can't make money, they can borrow money from you. Why don't you borrow money?" Lu Feng looked at her and said, "Believe everything others say. I'm not a fool, that's money. If someone really borrows money from me, I'll say that the money is all with you." Zhang Xiaoyan smiled slyly. Yes, it doesn't look stupid," Lu Feng praised. The two walked towards the kindergarten talking and laughing. There are 7 or 8 people sitting in an office building. This is a high-level company meeting, and the main discussion is about potential competitors. Sitting in the front seat is a man in his 30s, with a national face and a flat head, wearing a nylon-colored suit and a blue tie. The scene was filled with smoke, and everyone was smoking. Now that these TV factories are gone, the current market competition is really humming difficult, but the market for our two companies is still expanding. It's not that we are expanding, it's the market that is expanding. Recently, pandas seem to have a second spring. Radios are selling very well. Pandas are from what era? Didn't they work for GFN Electronics? Why didn't you take out the Peony brand? Mr. Zheng, I think, our main competitors are Changhong, Panda, and Konka. All three are actively transforming and expanding their product types, and all three have achieved certain results in the market. With their market channels, it's too late to catch up. Changhong, I don't think it's good. It's been replaced. I heard that the leader is very bluff. It doesn't matter whether he is a tiger or not, now the channel is king, the sales channel is wide, and the sales are good. Look at the channel of GFN Electronics. Damn, it is delivered to the village. I really think that Wiaputa sells well because products? Who in the industry doesn't know about the waste of Wiputa TVs, but the channels are big enough, and they even deliver goods to the village, just let him serve those who are difficult to serve. There was chattering on the spot. A serious cyborg, who can despise GFN Electronics? It has been established for a year and has no technology. It all depends on marketing and after sales. I think GFN Electronics needs to be taken care of, Mr. Zheng said. Everyone present was stunned for a moment. They turned to look at Mr. Zheng, their faces full of doubts. Is GFN Electronics a potential competitor? People don't make small home appliances now. This is equivalent to a junior high school student taking a 5th grade elementary school student as a competitor, who is not a junior high school student yet. They will do it. The market potential of this area is very large. GFN Electronics is very short of money now. It is not because they do or don't do it, but because, judging from the company's style of doing things, it is regarded as an opponent. Once it is done, it may be a sweeping situation in the market in certain provinces. Mr. Zheng analyzed with a serious face. He saw the market distribution of GFN Electronics. He did not do it piece by piece, but after winning the market in one province, he would enter the next province. In particular, I was even more astonished when I heard that Wiaputa's budget for the market in a province was as high as 10 million. Today's meeting was very confusing. You look at me, I look at you. I originally wanted to discuss potential competitors, and then compete accordingly, or take measures in advance. After negotiating for a long time, we talked about GFN Electronics, but they have no products at all. What should I do? Mr. Zheng also saw everyone's ignorance and said, mainly study some strategic means of GFN Electronics, and prevent it in advance. Lu Feng would never have imagined that before he entered a certain field, there would already be people waiting for him, but GFN Electronics' steps towards small household appliances were clearly the lice on the monk's head. The next day, after a day of preparation, the R/U0026D company was ready. According to Lu Cheng's words to the company, how much money can be obtained from President Lu depends on today's. After a small year of development, the R/U0026D company has more than 200 engineers of various types, and many are hired or registered. The total number of employees has exceeded more than 400, and it is already a large team. At 8 o'clock in the morning, a banner was hung downstairs in the company, which said that Mr. Lu Feng, the chairman of GFN Electronics, was warmly welcomed for inspection. Standing at the door to welcome. As Lu Feng's car was parked at the door, he pushed open the door and got out of the car. Lu Cheng strode forward and said, "Mr. Lu, welcome. Oh, he's getting more and more handsome." A group of people greeted him behind him, and Lu Feng smiled at the situation and said, "I haven't seen you for half a year, you are a Philistine." I received a call from President Lu that day, and after talking about the funds for next year, I was so excited that I couldn't sleep. As long as the money is in place, everything is easy to do. Lu Cheng stretched out his hand and made a gesture of invitation. Everything is ready upstairs. The company has added several new senior managers. When they went upstairs, they introduced each other. Lu Cheng talked about the company's development in the elevator. After going upstairs, I went straight into the conference room. There was a large table with a curtain on the opposite wall. The conference room was equipped with a projector. The environment was indeed much better than before. There are several products on the table: radios, home theater players, tape players, some integrated or separated, next to a lot of arranged materials. "Mr. Lu, sit down." Lu Cheng pulled out the chair himself. Just as Lu Feng sat down, a girl next to him put down a cup of tea. Lu Feng glanced at it. "Isn't this the girl who was greeted at the door just now? This girl has a heavy task today," Lu Feng teased. There is no woman in our company. This girl is still in charge of reception at the front desk. She has to have a face, Lu Cheng said with a bit of embarrassment, excluding the two of them, it's anti-cleaning. The audience burst into laughter. The company is mainly R/U0026D personnel, and most of them are men engaged in R/U0026D in this industry. Someone in the company has always jokingly called it Lu Hantang. Introduce your products. Lu Feng glanced at the time, it was already 8:30, this kind of product meeting is very troublesome, and it is estimated that today will take a whole day. Then let the product manager, Manager Shi, introduce the first product, the radio. Standing up, a bald man in his 40s, wearing black-rimmed glasses, stood a little nervously in front of the projector, and said, "Dear leaders, President Lu." "Stop, stop," Lu Feng raised his hand to signal him to stop, and said, "There is no need to say opening words and polite words, just talk about products, I don't pay attention to those." "Okay," Manager Shi smiled and seemed to relax, and said, "This product is made by our team. Compared with the current auction in the market, the cost is lower. At present, the mainstream small and medium-sized radios in the market are portable. It is portable, and the price is generally between 300 and 500. Their cost price is about 150 yuan, and we have achieved a cost price of 120 yuan. This is the first major advantage, the price advantage. The second major advantage is that the product is stable, and the Panda technology under the premise of the scheme, we have made new breakthroughs in the optimization of circuits and materials, especially in signal analysis. And now the sales of Panda radios are good in the market, and it can be regarded as an experiment for us. The third is to supplement the signal with higher strength. When the signal is insufficient, there will be intermittent situations. We strengthen this aspect, and do certain anti-interference." Lu Feng looked at the radio in front of him, and it was really beautiful, but the antenna was not long, only a bundle long. Lu Feng whispered to Lu Cheng next to him, "Is this antenna a little short?" "Mr. Lu, the length of the antenna has nothing to do with signal reception," Lu Cheng briefly explained to Lu Feng from a technical perspective. Lu Feng nodded and said, "If you see two radios, one with a long antenna and one with a short antenna, and both of them tell you their signal is good, who do you believe?" "For it." As an engineer, Lu Cheng certainly knew the way of signal reception, but ordinary people didn't know it. HTT. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 421. Manager Shi also talked about a lot of professional things. From motherboard materials to circuit design, the biggest highlight of this product is its cheapness. The same quality as it is not cheap, better than it, and much more expensive. The radio was also combined with the tape machine. Now all the companies are innovating. Under the existing conditions, people are dazzled by all kinds of strange combinations. Lu Feng made some suggestions, including increasing the number of antennas to 2, and they should be long, and the shape should be round and solid, giving people a feeling of solid porcelain. Don't use two protruding colors, you can use red appropriately. The main users of the radio are still older, their requirements for the product are practical and cheap, and the bells and whistles will not catch the eyes of these people too much. Lu Cheng has already figured out Lu Feng's path. The changes he made are superfluous changes for professionals, but they have another meaning at the marketing level. When he explained at the internal meeting, he called this design Lu's design. Next was the tape machine, and another manager walked up to it. The person next to him was already changing the drawings according to Lu Feng's request. The next product is a tape machine. This type of electronic product is very mature, and the difference in quality is only the difference in speakers and circuit materials. We analyzed and studied 27 tape machines on the market. After weighing the pros and cons, we decided got this one today. Most of the users of the tape machine are students, so we have made a bold design in the shape, using a lot of bright colors, mainly to highlight the youth, using a push-type button on the button. The best spring is used, press down, it's very textured, and the speakers use a product from FEO Audio. The circuit design has been replanned to ensure the stability of the current. 4 batteries can be used for 15 hours, and certain optimizations have also been made for issues such as cassettes, rewinds, and churning. The biggest highlight of this product is the automatic rewinding, which incorporates a drive wheel. I believe everyone has the same troubles. After listening to it, rewind it with your fingers. Our product solves this pain point. The people at the scene laughed when they heard this, and it was really troublesome to rewind. Lu Feng picked up the tape player in front of him and held it heavy in his hand. He pressed the buttons a few times with his hand. It can be seen that this product manager should have studied Lu Feng. Lu Feng put a tape in it and pressed the play button. The Song of Fire in Winter was extremely hot. The sound was not that good. Looking at the price on the purchase list, a pair of speakers cost only 6 yuan. Money, but it is indeed a lot better than those tape drives on the market. Why not make a repeater? That way the children can still use it, Lu Feng wondered. A repeater? Lu Cheng was a little puzzled and asked, what is a repeater? It's a certain passage that can be listened to continuously. For example, this sentence, I can go back and listen to it again, or it can automatically go back and forth, Lu Feng said. The engineers present leaned on their chairs one after another, and they looked at each other and felt that this research and development direction is very novel. This technology can be realized, but the cassette is so serious that the machine can't react, Lu Cheng said the technical pain point. Lu Feng thought about it carefully. The repeater should have been invented in 1999. It hasn't been invented yet. The technology is very weak for the future. Inside the microchip, play back and forth. You can use digital storage technology to digitize what needs to be repeated in the tape and play it back and forth. Lu Feng looked at the tape player in front of him and asked, can this technology be implemented now? Digital storage. Liukan pondered for a while, thought for a while and said, it can be achieved, but the price is expensive, and we need to obtain the patent rights of companies such as Sony and Sharp, or cooperate. Is the technical barrier very hard? Lu Feng knew. The market for repeaters is very large. For students, whoever learns English has few repeaters, just like Xinhua dictionary. If the money is there. Okay, Lu Feng looked at him and said, next year's research and development funds will be allocated to this project, and the repeater will be regarded as a key project in the small electronics category next year. Okay, Lu Cheng agreed. This tape machine is doing well. What is the cost? Lu Feng asked the product manager. Our current cost calculation is 24 yuan and 50 cents, which is basically the same as the price of other manufacturers. We had a brief chat with these suppliers. They have purchase quantity requirements, and the annual data is no less than 300,000. I don't think the annual sales of this product will be lower than that. The annual sales volume of 300,000 is not too much. The tape drive is still a hardcore product for young people. Although there are many manufacturers and different product levels, Lu Feng believes that this product is still very capable. Even if it is a loss, it will not be much. The next product is home theater. Another person in charge stood up. This product is made in conjunction with Wipita TV. You can directly insert the line into the jack on the back of the TV, and you can watch videotapes at home. In terms of tape data recovery, we have achieved a level similar to that of our peers. Buyers are basically the same, and the technical level of videotapes has reached a bottleneck period. Everyone's level is about the same, and we can't make much changes. Our picture quality is clearer, the cassette rate is lower, and the probability of blurry screen is lower. Even if it occurs, it will not be stuck. It's skip and play. This product does some processing on the tape. Like this, he picked up a videotape and stuffed it in, and then the tape was swallowed. For some products on the market, there are only two solutions for this situation. One is to use chopsticks to pull out, the other is to unscrew the screw and take it out, and we have done the entrainment treatment. Just press the button, the two iron pieces below will be pushed up, the two iron pieces above will be pressed down, and after being clamped, they will be pushed out. He pressed the button when he finished, and the tape was spat out. Another advantage is the price advantage. The price of home theaters in the market ranges from 3,000 to 8,000 yuan. The price of some foreign brands is very high. The domestic ones are basically 3,000 to 5,000 yuan. $2,535. Lu Feng looked at the home theater in front of him. After today's meeting, he understood that the products were all ordinary, and Jiafeng Electronics would have been beaten to death by the products alone. These people's faces are full of words. President Lu, we can only do this, the rest is up to you. I can tell that the common advantage of these three products is that they are cheap. Lu Feng didn't look good when he was leaning on his position. He wanted to be a company like Huawei. Good guy, if he was doing it, how could he become Xiaomi? Lu Cheng clearly felt that Lu Feng was unhappy, and the atmosphere at the scene instantly became extremely dignified, and everyone present dared not speak. Mr. Lu, the company just started this year, and I also know that the technical content of these three products is not high, but it took less than 3 months for these three products from project approval to design, and everyone was driven out by overtime, not only technology, patents, but also talents. We are accelerating the recruitment of talents, but talents do not come in a day, nor do they come to play a role. This aspect requires time accumulation. I've listened to what you said. I'll do it this year. After the funds are in place next year, I hope to find my own way in terms of technology and form product features. Do these products have names? Lu Feng asked. Not yet, it's still the product code. Why don't you give it a name? Will it be sold under Wypta, or will it be another brand? It's not good to make a brand again, and once it goes public, it will have to spend another promotion money. Lu Feng now has a headache when he hears spending money. Put it under Wypta. After a long discussion, the radio was called Tianjin-01, the tape player was called Martian, and as for the home theater, Lu Feng simply named it Golden Leopard. Originally thinking of finishing the product meeting and continuing to talk about the reorganization of the R/U0026D company, Lu Feng suddenly felt a little hungry and asked, "What time is it?" 4:30 in the afternoon. You forgot to eat at noon. Lu Feng woke up with a start. Everyone present is full of faces. You are not hungry, and we dare not say that you are hungry. Okay, let's have a reorganization meeting tomorrow. Lu Feng stood up and said, no one reminded me to eat at noon. There is a restaurant in the office building, and the R/U0026D company ordered meals there. The cook looked at his watch and started to scold his mother. Hearing that it was ready to serve, he started to stir fry. Lu Feng was sitting in the dining room and eating. A table was filled with senior executives of the R/U0026D company. Lu Cheng was sitting next to Lu Feng. The others wanted to take the opportunity to have a drink and get closer, but Lu Feng refused. While eating and talking about the direction of reorganization, the R/U0026D company's goal for next year will focus on talents, that is, 4 words, global poaching. Xiangjiang, Central Financial Building, sitting in the chairman's office is a woman in her 40s and 50s. Although the woman is old, she is well maintained and looks like she is in her 30s. Mr. Chen. Just promise me, isn't this your effort? I said that you are not allowed to interfere in anything in the company, But you still don't listen. President Chen threw the pen on the table and said coldly, "No. You don't know what that bastard did to me. He knows me." A few minutes later, Mr. Chen's face was ashen. He picked up the phone on the table and said, "Tell Tianhong Investment, if they continue to contact the company called GFN Electronics in mainland China, I will not guarantee their fund anymore." HTT. Return to 1990. Author, Guanwei 11 Feng. Chapter 422. Tianhong Investment mainly sells funds to the outside world. After returning the funds, it invests in the stock market, futures, etc., among which a guarantee company is required for fund sales. When they heard Mr. Chen's words, the board of directors of Tianhong Investment was almost paralyzed. They didn't know how GFN Electronics offended Mr. Chen. Without thinking too much, the cooperation between the two sides was stopped immediately. The GFN Electronics team was confused and didn't know what was going on. They made a few calls in a row, but the other party just said that they would not be in touch again, so let them find someone else. The person in charge of the team called a lot of people, and finally found a vice president and spent some money. The other party was relieved, saying that their upstream company called and prohibited investment in GFN Electronics. After the other party said the company's name, the team leader felt that he was wronged. He had never heard of this company. As far as she knew, GFN Electronics had never interacted with this company. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Li Fang and the people from Tianhong Investment left the restaurant after dinner. The last glimmer of hope was extinguished at the dinner. According to the people of Tianhong Company, if they invested in GFN Electronics, Tianhong would the investment has to fail. Out of the hotel door, one of the bosses whispered a word to Li Fang. "You, go back and think about who you offended. Who is to blame?" She really can't say anything about this, and she reported it to the general manager of finance as soon as she returned to the hotel. The person in charge of finance also called Lu Feng a few days ago, and assured Lu Feng and Zhang Fengxia that this matter was done, and the finance people always handled things neatly. Like the team sent by the marketing department, it was impossible to talk about a new factory. President Lu needs to go there in person. A few days after he finished speaking, he immediately slapped himself in the face. The person in charge of finance didn't want to report it, and asked Li Fang to work harder. Li Fang said that she couldn't work harder. It's November, and then it's the end of the year. It's said that the financing will be in place. Isn't this life-threatening? The person in charge of finance hurriedly grabbed his head. At this time, he had no choice but to report truthfully. Zhang Fengxia was also surprised when he got the news. Lu Feng had already started to make plans for next year according to the financing situation. If the financing fails, GFN Electronics plans for next year will be disrupted, the R/U0026D company will expand, and small home appliances will be listed. It's fine with what you said to me. I told President Lu that he shouldn't be sleeping at this time. You can call him. I don't want to be scolded, Zhang Fengxia said angrily. I just knew that I would carry it back. Pot. Mr. Zhang, I don't know what's going on. People say that we offended people. This is intentional. I don't dare to call President Lu now. He doesn't dare to fire you, but he really dares to let me get out. The finance chief pleaded. This matter is so big that Zhang Fengxia is not sure if she will be fired. Once the financing fails, GFN Electronics plans for next year will all collapse, and it is very likely that it will really fail. She knows how much work Lu Feng has put into planning for next year. They are busy building new factories, expanding production, and reorganizing the company. Zhang Fengxia has a good relationship with the person in charge of finance, and since finance plays a pivotal role in the company, she sighed and agreed. At 9 o'clock in the evening, Lu Feng was sitting on the sofa watching TV, holding Zhang Xiaoyan in his left hand and Duo Duo in his right. The family of three huddled together and watched a TV series called Peking Man in New York. The phone on the table rang. Zhang Xiaoyan rubbed her mouth, dissatisfied with the phone call that disturbed the whole family watching TV shows. "Who is it, most of the night?" Zhang Xiaoyan said, stood up and walked over, picked up the phone and said, "Who is it?" "Sister Xiaoyan? It's me, Fengxia." Zhang Fengxia became happy. "Fengxia, why did you call at this time? Haven't you got off work yet?" Zhang Xiaoyan turned her head and winked at Lu Feng, whispering, "Fengxia is calling, I guess it's for you." "Get off work. That, is Mr. Lu here? I'm in a hurry to find him." "Here, I'll ask him to answer the phone." Zhang Xiaoyan beckoned to Lu Feng. Lu Feng pulled the mop out with his foot from under the coffee table, put on his shoes, walked over, took the phone and said, "What's the matter?" "Mr. Lu, let me tell you some bad news. Let's say it first, don't be angry." Zhang Fengxia said with a smile, "Isn't Sister Xiaoyan by your side? You can help me as a witness, don't be angry, and don't curse." "How could he scold you? Just say anything." Zhang Xiaoyan joked aside, "If he scolds you, I'll hit him for you." "Don't worry, I'll call the shots for you." Lu Feng's face no longer looked good, and a bad premonition lingered in his heart. "What's the matter? Hurry up," Lu Feng said coldly. Zhang Xiaoyan reached out and patted him, and said, "Is it a habit to be a boss? It's not work time now, people are very tired every day, please be more considerate." Hey, something happened to Xiang Zhang, and the company that was going to take a stake was a little reluctant. If you are just not satisfied with the terms, it is impossible for the news to reach Zhang Fengxia, and the negotiating team will continue to negotiate. Lu Feng already knew the promise, and the financing has failed. Didn't you say you were willing to invest 300 million a few days ago? Why did it suddenly become yellow, or are the good news released before, all fake? Now you can't hide it, Lu Feng asked. "You know Huang, you guessed it all. If there is a problem, you must face the problem and seek a solution instead of calling me to be smart." Lu Feng said solemnly, "What is the specific reason? Whose problem is it?" "Sister Xiaoyan, he's yelling at me. I'm not working now, and it's not my responsibility. The team leader this time is from the finance department, so I'm still taking the blame for the general manager of finance." Zhang Fengxia said dissatisfiedly, "The business department, the finance department, and me, the three responsible persons, I am the only one being scolded." "I didn't scold you," Lu Feng said speechlessly. Zhang Xiaoyan on the side reached out and hit Lu Feng's arm, comforting, "Fengxia, don't be in a hurry, I'll hit her for you. Let's talk about the problem first. Where is it?" "People said that the upstream companies invested by Tianhong called them and were not allowed to invest in us. We offended people. We don't know who it is." The two chatted for more than 10 minutes and hung up the phone. Lu Feng got the phone number of the person in charge of Xiangjiang and called to ask. As a result, Li Feng had never seen the upstream company invested by Tianhong. Inexplicably got caught. Lu Feng asked again if he could get financing from other companies, but Li Feng told him that the chances were slim. They had traveled all over Hong Kong for suitable investment companies, and very few were willing to invest in mainland companies. After hanging up the phone, Lu Feng's face was not good, and Zhang Xiaoyan, who was beside him, asked concerned, "What's wrong? What kind of financing?" "It's okay, the company is short of money," Lu Feng said casually. "It's really not good. I can still collect a little here. It's more than 500,000 yuan. I can't get more. If you are too nervous, sell the cosmetics factory." Zhang Xiaoyan really wanted to share a little worry for her man. Lu Feng heard that she was so worried about himself, but the whole in Jiafeng Electronics, let alone a Huasha cosmetics factory, is not enough. "It's all right, in front of me, It doesn't matter how big it is. Lu Feng showed a smile on his face, looking very relaxed, and said, I might have to go on a business trip. It's only been a few days since I came back. Zhang Xiaoyan sighed and said, Go, how many days are you going this time? Lu Feng shook his head and said he didn't know, but he would definitely come back a year ago. Where did you go during the Chinese New Year? My mother called me several times to let us go home. Zhang Xiaoyan looked at Lu Feng and asked. As soon as Lu Feng heard the word New Year, his head hurt. When he went back to his mother-in-law's house to celebrate the New Year, he would rather spend the New Year alone. If he goes back now, he will not repeat the situation of last year, but he will definitely be wrapped in 3 layers and 3 layers. Those who knew him, and those he didn't know, all came to find him. Lu Feng had experienced this kind of scene in his last life, and he didn't want to experience it a second time. We'll talk about it then. Then you are leaving tomorrow. Lu Feng knew that she was a little reluctant to give up, and he had to leave only a few days after he came back, but for a growing company, it was normal for the boss to run around the world. The day after tomorrow, Lu Feng glanced at Duo on the sofa and found that she was already asleep. He stretched out his hand and pulled Zhang Xiaoyan into his arms, and said in a low voice, Duo fell asleep. Zhang Xiaoyan immediately understood and dragged him upstairs. Hurry up. The next day, Lu Feng called the person in charge of finance in the morning. Without saying a word, he scolded his head and face. It is impossible for such a big thing to not be popular. Then I learned about the situation and reassured it. As a boss, the first thing that goes wrong is always to blame. Many employees or management think that it is the boss who loses his temper. The current financial officer feels that he is aggrieved, not his own problem. Of course, Lu Feng knew it wasn't his fault, but he had to be scolded. He was one of the people in charge. If he could put the blame on his subordinates, he would have no responsibility at all. Then the other party would definitely tell Lu Feng if something went wrong. None of my business. As the boss, Lu Feng does not want his subordinates to relax. Once there is a problem with internal management, it is very difficult to fix. After 4 or 5 calls in a row, Lu Feng told them that he would handle it himself, and that he would leave tomorrow and simply deal with the R/U0026D company today. Carrying things out the door, Lu Feng sat in the car and took a deep breath. No matter how big it was, he had to carry it. If there was a problem with financing, he would continue to make cakes for Liukan when he went to the R/U0026D company. Start the car and gallop towards the company. HTT.